Hello, I'm Mango. Today, we're going to dive into everything about Edison. Hope you enjoy. Think about the world around you right now. The lights, the music in your ears, the technology in your hands. None of this happened overnight. It started with a spark. And today, we are diving deep into the ultimate story of that spark. The life of Thomas Alva Edison. This isn't just a story about inventions. It's about a man who refused to accept the word impossible. Let's travel back to February 11th, 1847, in a small town called Milan, Ohio. A boy named Thomas Alva Edison is born. To his family, he's just Al. But Al wasn't like other kids. He didn't just look at things. He wanted to know how they worked. Why did the goose sit on the eggs? Well, young Al actually tried sitting on them himself to see if he could hatch them. But school was a disaster. His teacher called him addled, meaning his brain was scrambled. He couldn't sit still, and he asked too many questions. Hearing this, his fierce mother, Nancy Edison, pulled him out of school after just 3 months. She chose to homeschool him, and that changed everything. She didn't just teach him facts. She taught him how to learn. By the age of 9, he was already tearing through advanced science books and building his own chemistry lab in the basement. Now, Al wasn't content with just reading. He wanted to be out in the world. By age 12, he gets a job selling newspapers and candy on the Grand Trunk Railroad. Imagine this young teenager, full of energy, turning an empty baggage car into his own personal chemistry lab and printing press. But science is dangerous. One day, a stick of phosphorus catches fire, setting the train car on fire. The conductor boxes his ears so hard that it contributes to his lifelong deafness. But did Edison give up? Not a chance. Then comes a turning point. At age 15, he saves a 3-year-old boy from being crushed by a runaway train. The boy's grateful father rewards Edison by teaching him the ultimate technology of the 19th century, the telegraph. For the next few years, Edison becomes a tramp telegrapher, wandering from city to city, working late-night shifts. This is where he learns the power of electricity and communication. He works all night, drinks gallons of coffee, and spends every penny he earns on books and electrical equipment. He is broke, messy, and sleeps on office floors, but his mind is on fire with ideas. By 1869, Edison arrives in New York City with no money. But genius cannot be hidden for long. He fixes a broken stock ticker so efficiently that the company hires him, and soon he sells an improved version for a staggering $40,000. In the 1870s, that is a fortune. With this money, Edison does something revolutionary. He builds the world's first industrial research laboratory in Menlo Park, New Jersey. This is where he earns his legendary nickname, the Wizard of Menlo Park. Here, he doesn't work alone. He brings together a team of brilliant scientists, machinists, and clockmakers. And the inventions start pouring out like magic. First, the phonograph in 1877, a machine that could actually record and play back the human voice. People thought it was witchcraft. And then, the big one, the incandescent light bulb. Now, let's clear up a myth. Edison did not invent the light bulb. But what he did was even greater. He made it practical, affordable, and long-lasting. He and his team tested over 6,000 different materials, including beard hairs and bamboo, to find the perfect filament. When asked about his failures, Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." On New Year's Eve, 1879, he lit up Menlo Park with hundreds of glowing bulbs, changing the human experience of night and day forever. But with great success comes fierce competition. As Edison builds the world's first massive electric power grid in New York, a dark cloud forms on the horizon. This brings us to one of the most bitter rivalries in human history, the War of the Currents. Edison's empire was built on direct current, or DC. It was safe, but it couldn't travel more than a mile without losing power. Enter Nikola Tesla, a brilliant young Serbian engineer who briefly worked for Edison. Tesla champions alternating current, or AC, which can travel hundreds of miles instantly. Tesla teams up with George Westinghouse, a wealthy businessman, and suddenly Edison's empire is threatened. What follows is a brutal corporate and psychological war. Edison, desperate to protect his business and his reputation, launches a massive smear campaign against AC. He publicly electrocutes animals using AC to show the public how dangerous it is. He even secretly funds the creation of the world's first electric chair to link Tesla's AC with death. It is a dark, desperate chapter in Edison's life. But ultimately, progress cannot be stopped. AC wins the war because of its sheer efficiency, and Edison is forced out of the power business. Losing the current war would have broken an ordinary man. But Thomas Edison was no ordinary man. He pivots immediately to new frontiers. He looks at images and says, "Why can't we make them move?" In the late 1880s and 1890s, Edison develops the kinetoscope and the kinetograph, effectively helping to birth the global motion picture industry. He builds Black Maria, the world's first movie studio in New Jersey. Even in his later years during World War I, he serves his country by advising the U.S. Navy on defense inventions. As the years roll on, the old wizard slows down. On October 18, 1931, at the age of 84, Thomas Alva Edison takes his final breath. To honor his passing, President Herbert Hoover asks all Americans to dim their lights for 1 minute on the night of his funeral. For 60 seconds, the world plunges back into the darkness that Edison had spent his entire life fighting. Was he a perfect man? No, he was a ruthless businessman and a flawed human being. But his legacy is undeniable. Holding 1,093 patents, he taught the world that genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. He didn't just invent devices, he invented the modern world. That's all from Mango. Thanks for watching. Bye.